Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Surface. This is Angela Bertone, your host. Today, we are talking about how to break the cycles of stress and anxiety. The natural human response to survive is needed when a threat is present, but it should not remain in a state of action when no threat is present. For example, when we are in a real and present danger, like a bear in the woods, we definitely want this survival part of us to do its job and to do it well. However, when our bodies perceive non life threatening stressors like work deadlines, social media activity, people's opinions, fear of failure, fear of rejection, or financial worries as an imminent danger, we can enter into a constant state of hyperarousal, leading our bodies into burnout, decreased resilience, and even severe health issues. We know that 75% of all chronic disease starts with stress. These situations that are not life threatening and do not need survival response can bring a cascade of chemicals into the body that are not only not helpful, but they're actually dangerous to the cellular health. First of all, the body uses perception. In our perception, the body uses sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, not only in a present tense to determine whether or not there's danger, but it also uses all the recordings, not only from your personal life, but some of the recordings in your body can be passed down from your parents as well as your grandparents in something we call epigenetics. Think of any of your painful experiences, like a chemical cocktail. Imagine that they taste bad, like an espresso, dark, bitter drink. Imagine how difficult it is to drink it and how it can yet give you a boost to survive the situation you might feel. Tension in the shoulders or jaw is common, rapid heartbeat or palpitations, sweating or trembling, nausea or stomach discomfort. These feelings are a direct result of a perceived threat or a real threat. And it is a chemical cocktail that is being released from your hypothalamus into the entire body. These physical experiences that are meant to save us from harm can also serve as a moment in time to give us awareness and consciousness, kind of like it's your cue to recognize that the body is going into or has gone into a state of perceived danger, whether it's real or not. And because you are now aware, because you're paying attention to these markers in your body, you can feel the stress and anxiety and realize whether it's false or real. It's important to acknowledge and accept this information rather than to fight it. Fighting these feelings can actually increase the body's need to survive. Instead of fighting it, we can respond with an effective set of actions. We can actually train our brain, our like awareness part of our brain, and train our neurological responses that are subconscious to shift into a creative problem solving mode instead of remaining in fight or flight. It's important to understand that our logical brain is good at handling anything that it can measure, like quantities, dates, things like that that need a measuring instrument. So think of like measuring stick, a ruler, a scale, a cup, an ounce, things like that. Anything that you can actually put a measurement around, the brain is really good, and that's the part of you that you want to use. You would not use your heart to measure those things. But your brain, on the other hand, cannot measure immeasurable things, like it can't measure frustration, anger, fear, isolation, rejection, hopelessness. There's no measuring tool available to mankind to measure those type of unmeasurable things. So we need our heart to measure those. Like you can't give me a foot of long suffering or a pound of fear. Understanding this about the brain gives us the awareness and the power to shift from a logical state that doesn't know how to handle uncertain things and then go into an emotional state of the heart, but using your imagination because of that emotional state we can actually shift from logic to wonder. And when we enter into wonder, we begin to open up the capacity to receive problem solving ideas, creative new ideas that maybe have never even been thought of before. Makes me think of the old statement that necessity is the mother of invention, right? So when the brain tries to handle something it's not designed to handle, in other words, something that's unmeasurable, it will go into fear and anxiety, pushing our bodies into overdrive. And oftentimes we can get stuck in that state. And that's whenever we begin to have stress, anxiety, and even panic over things that are really not even life threatening. So these signals of stress are actually like a check engine light on your dashboard of your car. Of course, we wouldn't see a check engine light and break the light. Like you wouldn't take your hammer and punch that light out so that you go, oh, I fixed the problem. No, you would check your engine. So when that happens and you get these, sweaty palms or that feeling in your stomach, we can call that our check engine light. And now we have the moment to just pause, pivot, and pray. And that's when we put our hand on our heart and we want to go into the heart where the creativity and problem solving can begin, right? That's the place where we can do that. The heart is well suited to handle the unknown. It's well suited to become creative and think about things that sometimes aren't even possible, right? Like it's not possible for me to fly, but if I would imagine myself flying over the problem where I could look at it from a different angle, believe it or not, it'd make you feel safe because it would be giving you a new perspective just by pretending. So that's why the heart is suited very well to deal with the unknown because it can imagine anything. All right. So in moments like these, I'm reminded that we as humans are full of not knowing. And therein lies the scripture that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. So, what does it mean to be wonderful? It means full of wonder. And God made us that way on purpose. The heart is the place that God said He would guide us through. And in fact, He told us, don't lean unto your own understanding, but trust me with your heart, right? When we pray and we meditate in the heart and we dream and create ideas, it's natural for the brain to eventually step back in and we'll be able to figure out which creative ideas are just crazy and weird and won't work, and which ideas rise to the top like cream to the top. And those are the ones that our brain can go, oh, yes, I can see that now. Now we can do that. And the two, meaning the brain and the heart, can begin to become one. But it's the heart's job to do the dreaming and the brainstorming. We call it brain, but remember we have a heart brain as well. But we don't want to brainstorm in our head when we have high anxiety and high stress because it just makes things worse. We're going to talk about in just a moment what actually is deposited into the bloodstream when we attempt to solve the unknown through our head. Okay, just imagine for a second if when the next time your body entered into stress and anxiety with a perceived threat, not a real one, and you could just say, oh, thank you, brain. Thank you for reminding me that you're uncomfortable and that you don't like to do this kind of stuff. You just take a break. I'll go down in my heart and we'll dream for a little bit. And you can just take a breather. Just the act of knowing that you can give your brain a break is relief. And then when we get into the heart, now we're actually going to connect with our creativity and intuition and the place in which we connect with God. Okay, so just pivot, pause. Well, let's do that again. Let's pause, pivot from what? From the brain, from the logic, to where? To the heart. So we're pivoting away from anxiety and stress, and we're pivoting to creative intuition, asking, seeking, knocking. That's going to feel like freedom and it's going to feel like relief. So the way that you want to do this is once you become aware that, it could be a dry mouth, it could be a pounding heart, it could be just the sound of frustration. You could be like, ugh. And that sound is a trigger to go, oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Let me get downstairs in my heart. So you want to place your hand on your heart. That's going to give the body a gesture, physical gesture that says, we can stay calm, we're safe, and that will steady the mind. It will begin the process of steadying the mind. then that simple touch is going to bring the blood away from the logical area and to the body, the heart area. It's going to actually send a signal to the body that says, okay, we're safe now. We're not in imminent danger. And then with a focus on your heart, we begin to ask for help, guidance, seek comfort. And we tell the all knowing one that we're trusting you. We're trusting that you will give me guidance because that's his promise, right? If we lean not to our own understanding and trust him with all our heart, he will direct our paths. And so we're turning to that God directed path. Imagine what it would feel like if you could hear your heart's new ideas, new perspectives. If you could feel supported and relief that you're not alone, that God's right there, and that everything is being worked out for your good, not by you, but by God, who is the giver of all good gifts, including ideas and answers to your problems. Imagine feeling peaceful and having a successful outcome. Visualize a positive result and notice the shift from the mind to the heart and how much better it feels. You become confident in the God of love, not in your mind's ability to figure it out, because your mind really can't. It only can pull from past experiences. It can't pull from the unknown. That's what your heart does. So now let the gratitude and relief that you were not alone just begin to flow. So when you're in that process, your hands on your heart, you're asking God for assistance, you're reconnecting with God as the source of all answers and comfort, and he's the one that's going to give you whatever it is that you need. Let the gratitude just begin to flow and just rest in that for a second. When you do that, you're literally changing what is in your blood flow. You're not going to have a dark espresso coffee anymore. You're going to be creating a mocha latte. So as you reflect on how allowing your heart to be guided by the all-knowing, all-loving God of the universe, you're going to begin to stabilize your entire being, body included, because of the heart focus. So again, just drink that in for a few seconds as you begin to practice. When you develop this in the beginning, it's probably going to feel odd at first, but that's okay. It won't be long, and I promise you, you'll be teaching others to do the same thing because it's just life-changing. So when you do these actions, you're going to reduce the amount of stress and anxiety. You're going to increase feelings of calmness and well-being. You're going to improve the focus and productivity of the brain, because when your brain is in fight or flight, it's actually in a high beta brainwave instead of a beta brainwave. But the act of taking care of the heart will bring the brain out of stressful high beta into a normal beta brainwave, which gives you focus. Now, in addition to that, you're going to feel the enhanced creativity, problem-solving skills are going to jump in, and that is also going to reduce these chemicals. So what chemicals are we talking about? We're talking about adrenaline and cortisol and norepinephrine. So many people feel exhausted on a regular basis, and many people struggle with brain fog. So let's talk about those two. When your adrenals are on overdrive, and you're stuck in fight or flight most of the time, and the warning signs that you're stuck there is stress and anxiety. Now, not all stress is bad, but anxiety and worry and frustration, those are not healthy. We want stress to keep us strong, but we don't want stress to kill us. Remember, 75% of all disease is caused from that chronic stress. So the adrenaline can wear you out, and you can actually wear out your adrenals. And the cortisol, if you have a continual flow of cortisol rather than the natural rhythm of cortisol to wake you up and in the morning and then go away and help you go to sleep in the evening, if you have cortisol all day long, you are actually poisoning your brain, and your brain acts like a sponge, and it holds on to all that cortisol, and it doesn't have time to clean itself. And so when your brain doesn't clean itself of cortisol, you actually over time can get a disease called Cushing's disease. And that disease is very similar to like a dementia or Alzheimer's. So you definitely do not want high cortisol washing in your brain every day, all day long. You want it only like the body was intended to have it, which is to wake you up in the morning and, get you about your day. And then also when you need cortisol in a specific situation, your body, based on perception, will deliver it to the bloodstream so you can have that little boost of energy when needed. Now, in addition to damaging your brain, Cortisol will also help you store belly fat. Now, belly fat is toxic. We can get fatty liver. We can put pressure against all of our organs, and not to mention, it doesn't. We don't like what it looks like when we have a muffin top and have a big belly. So, cortisol is one of the number one reasons we have that big belly, is because the body can access that fat very easily if it needs it in a stressful situation, a true stressful situation. But when your body's constantly delivering cortisol and holding on to every bit of fat it can because it's in worry mode, that now is not in your favor. It's actually working against you. So we want those lowered, and we only want those being used when they're truly needed. Okay. In addition to lowering those, we're going to increase the chemicals of dopamine, serotonin, and other endorphins like oxytocin. So those are the feel good hormones that make us feel connected, make us feel motivated and inspired, as well as serotonin is what brings balance to the brain. And about 80 to 90% of your serotonin is made in the bowel. And notice when you feel stressful and anxiety that's inappropriate, it hurts your stomach, right? You feel that knot in your stomach. Some people even get it so bad they experience irritable bowel syndrome. Children will oftentimes say that their stomach hurts and they feel sick. And that's because the serotonin is off and you're dealing with those other cortisol and adrenaline hormones that are there because of a perceived threat instead of a real one. Okay, so if you want to incorporate these practices into your daily lives, you can come back and listen to this podcast. We do have a group on Facebook that you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to friend you on Facebook and let you join our group. In that group, what we do is we take 30 days at a time, and we listen to my monologue podcast on the Ancient Secret, the missing link to the Ancient Secret, and we spend 30 days of journaling together as a group with the intention of changing our heart-brain neurological network so that we can walk daily in I am loved, I'm never alone, there's no such thing as me being alone, I'm not in lack, and that God loves me and always has loved me, and that your perspective in life looks through that lens rather than the lens of worry, fear, and doubt. Okay, let's just recap. You have the ability to address your challenging situations using your fight or flight, or you could perceive and pause, pivot and pray, and proceed in achieving all that you've hoped and dreamed of. And so when can you do this? You can do it today and every day. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Surface and for sharing it with others. I'm Angela Bertone, your host. Have a great day.